This week on the Bloodline Rewind, Roman Reigns returns after Brock Lesnar's rampage, and the tribal chief has questions for his special counsel. Is Paul Heyman still loyal to the head of the table, or did Brock Lesnar's suspension break the Bloodline's trust? Meanwhile, the Usos continue to prove why they are the ones as SmackDown starts building towards Survivor Series. Let's see how it all plays out as we rewind the Bloodline. Welcome back to the Bloodline Rewind. I'm your host, Johnny Bake Show, and we got Teddy Mongoose in here today as this is part 48. If you missed last week's show, we covered Maraschino Cherry, Adam Pearce. He suspended Brock Lesnar indefinitely and fined him $1 million. And we had a trial by combat match with the Usos versus the New Day. So if you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It is the best way to support the channel, and it keeps you in the know for when we drop daily Bloodline content every single day. So before we hop in here again, Goose, why don't you take us to Dirt Sheet Beach with whatever you dug up for us?
All right, so we're going to start with the November 8th Wrestling Observer newsletter. This is November 8th, 2021. We have 18 roster cuts made after the big cash influx from Saudi Arabia and a quarterly report that was very optimistic about WWE financials after that show. Now, this is mostly due to the fact that we have the return of live shows, but worldwide television rights are up as well, and so that's going to contribute to that. Among those released, Keith Bearcat Lee, Mia Yim, Eva Marie, Nia Jax, Karrion Kross, and yes, this is 2021, not 2025. Graham Metalik, Lindsay Dorado, Harry Smith, son of Davey Smith, British Bulldog, and B-Fab.
They just debuted.
And she's already gone.
Oh, R.I.P.
On NXT side, Scarlett, gone. Ember Moon, gone. She will be Athena, mega win streak there in Ring of Honor. Frankie Monet, which you may know of as Taya Valkyrie. Oni Lorcan, which is a name that I haven't thought about in a long time, but he was awesome, and a few others. So we have a whole bunch of people from that list that are going to jump ship to the other company. We have several that are going to bide their time and then come back on in the next year or two whenever Uncle Paul takes back over. But just an interesting development, especially because it happened right after that Saudi show. So speaking of all of the money, Nick Khan, Stephanie McMahon, some others were on an investors call about Nick Khan specifically spoke about the opportunities in pay-per-view, such as 400,000 tourists coming to Las Vegas for July 4th and 350,000 tourists coming to Atlanta for New Year's Eve being big opportunities. So that's where we're going to get the one and only day one from. Also, and here's where Nick goes full Oracle soothsayer. The big five are all going to be stadium shows, with the exception of Survivor Series, which has since changed. That's at a stadium in San Diego this year. The last notes from that, Nick Khan did say that the company is working with different companies when it comes to the rights fees, and those are coming up in 2024. And Nick Khan notes ESPN Plus, Peacock, and Amazon are all possibilities, but he also said Netflix is looking to buy a sports property. So Nick Khan put it out there in 2021. 3 years later, this literally came to fruition. Netflix and ESPN Plus are literally the home of WWE, with Peacock too.
Whether you like it or not, which most of us don't, it's here and it's here to stay. I just wish everything was still back on the WWE network.
Yeah, facts. $9.99 a month, $4.99 trial.
Bring it back.
Months at a time.
Bring it back.
Speaking of Netflix, though, Nick Khan does say that they're producing a series about Vince McMahon. And Nick Khan plugs this.
This is perfect.
Little does he know what's going to come down the pipe and what that documentary or whatever is going to turn into.
And we covered that here on the channel before we started the Bloodline Rewind, so go back and check that out. It is linked in the description below.
Absolutely. So Nick Khan also talked about a multi-year NFT deal that the WWE has with Fox. And I'm sure this is just paying dividends today. He also talked about NXT's revamp to NXT 2.0. He said they wanted, quote, younger, fresher in-ring approach here, end quote, and that quote, talent from the new NXT is already being elevated to the main roster, end quote, and the recruiting efforts for new talents are, quote, spearheaded by Paul Levesque and Bruce Pritchard, and they are focused on young athletes who may not at this time be in the wrestling space. But those results will come to fruition in the right way, and NXT will continue to build what is already building, end quote. And I thought that was a very interesting little tidbit there, because this is literally the start of NIL.
Yeah.
All, you know what I'm saying? And so we are now rolling that in. They're now signing athletes that are, you know, just big deals in college that aren't getting sent straight to the performance center or whatever. And so this is where this started, like right here with NXT 2.0.
Yeah, I like it, and it almost feels a little old schoolish. Like it feels a little bit of not quite. It feels a little bit Jim Ross-ish, because Jim Ross was trying to go out there and find just the best athletes.
Right. Well, that was always, it was Jim Ross and Jerry Briscoe were the ones that we're going to go out there. We're going to find the shooters, right? Your Brock Lesnar's, your Shelton Benjamins, those types. And now we're getting, and not that Bianca's already there. Montez Ford's already there. We did talk about they already signed Trick Williams. They're already getting these college athletes that might not be going professional in their particular discipline.
Yeah.
But they're mega athletes. And so we're just going to expand upon that. And also, they want that age limit like young. You know, no more we're bringing in 37-year-old indie guy. They want you to be in your early to mid 20s and learn their way. So I do want to say, before I kick it back over to you, for ratings, Raw was up 1.4% for the quarter. Compared to the previous quarter. Smackdown, though, was up 6.2%. So the Bloodline is, in fact, driving the ship right now. And then to finally wrap it all up, Dave says that WWE has done nothing to promote Survivor Series yet. There are 2 Raws and 3 Smackdowns left at press time. There have been promos that have been dating back since more than a month ago between Big E or teasing Big E and Roman Reigns. The match itself hasn't been announced, and they haven't outwardly said it.
But it's coming.
It's coming, yeah. And at press time, it's still brand versus brand, with Roman Reigns and Big E and Charlotte and Becky being the big 2. And Dave says, quote, I was told the mentality behind not having promoted it at all is they felt that they pushed Crown Jewel as hard as they could. And the most important thing now is to get over the new feuds with new rosters. And this is my words. They did just have a draft. Back to Dave, and let the new rosters settle in on television, then push Survivor Series in the final weeks. End quote there. Let's get to these Smackdowns, brother.
This is the November 5th Smackdown. We are live from Evansville, Indiana, and our tribal chief and the Bloodline is on their way to the ring, as Pat McAfee is so happy that stupid baseball's over. So I can only imagine how happy Fox was to hear a commentator talking about the sporting event that they just showcased for an entire month they were building to, and it was just buried the next week.
Paying quintillions of dollars for it too, I'm sure. I made the note that Cole said, we're in America's heartland, not Evansville. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. I did like to see some Notre Dame gear in the crowd. I thought that was cool. But dude, like you said, we are seconds in and Pat is already dialed up to a 12. Yeah. So, I mean, he came out of the gate just spitting caffeine. Cole says,
for 432 days, this man has ruled.
Roman comes out with Paul, and what I thought was interesting, some very cheerful Usos.
Right.
Cole says that Roman was on vacation last week. McAfee says it was well-deserved. He's the hardest working man in the sport. And we got 3 men holding their titles high while the pyro goes off. The Usos hold the ones up limited fake Megan Rapinoe is in the crowd here. She boos. And then Roman puts his hand out. Paul gives him the mic, and then we get some "You Suck" chants raining down, and we're off to the races.
Yes, we are shown a recap of the Usos match with the New Day from last week, and Paul hands the mic to Roman, and he says that he wasn't at Smackdown last week because since he smashed Brock Lesnar, he took a little vacation, so don't worry, he's here now.
So tiny little no-name town, acknowledge me.
Again, we don't say Evansville. I'm just imagine Vince saying, "Don't say Evansville."
Yeah. So Roman tells us that he had a great week.
I was running around naked. My wife was loving it. It was great. But from my understanding, not everybody had a good week.
Some people had a bad week because the tribal chief wasn't here. And guess who else didn't have a good week? That dumb Brock Lesnar. And as Roman is going through his list here, I'm just waiting for him to bury the Usos because they are, like you said, they are weirdly super cheerful for no reason.
Right. And when he threw me a curveball when he started with Lesnar, because I thought right away it was, well, here we go.
So he continues on Lesnar saying that he got fined $1 million and suspended. He says that
You can thank me because I'm the man responsible for it. You see, I got the stroke. I got the juice around here. I make it happen.
Roman calls for the wise man, and he asks what else happened last week. And Paul immediately tells on himself with what happened with Kayla.
It was really nothing. Kayla started bothering me about.
If you didn't see what happened, go back to the show last week and see how Paul just completely let his guard down when he was questioned about Brock Lesnar. But Roman stops him, and he asks what else happened.
Yeah, and with authority, too. That was what I liked about that, is that it went from jovial Usos, Paul shook up telling himself, at Roman, boom, switch flips there.
And Paul says,
Oh, that.
which really made me laugh. And he says that the Usos had a match with the New Day and the titles weren't on the line because they would never have a title match on the Island of Relevancy without the tribal chief. And again, Roman stops Paul and asks,
Who won and who lost that match?
And Paul reluctantly says that it was won by the New Day, and the New Day chants start immediately. Roman likes the New Day. They're great. They're entertaining.
But they're not better than the Bloodline.
He says he's having trouble understanding how the Usos, the greatest tag team of this generation, lost to the New Day. And Roman asks,
Which one of you got pinned in that match?
and Jey instantly points at Jimmy, but then Jimmy points at Jey.
Yeah, dude, Jey trying to tell on Jimmy had me dying, and then them doing the back and forth like they were literal kids. I loved it, man. That was excellent little layer there.
Roman puts his arm around Jimmy and he asks,
Tell us all how you're going to fix this problem.
And Jimmy says he's got him. He's going to kick the crown off of Woods' head and he's going to make him acknowledge the tribal chief.
Yeah, he just immediately starts carrying the water for Roman. Smart man. Smart man. I love it.
And Roman shakes his head in approval, and then the New Day's music hits.
It's a new day. Yes, it is.
Yeah, and once this happens, Pat says, here comes King Woods and the King's man. And Cole corrects him immediately, says,
King's hand.
Yes. So they come out, and Woods says they must have forgotten his table because when you're a king around here, you're the head of the table. And now they're poking fun at the table in the Island of Relevancy. Woods is here to propose a challenge. He says if Jimmy defeats him tonight, he will acknowledge Roman, but when Woods wins,
and he will have to bend the knee.
And what I liked about here was they let the babyface name drop the people in Evansville, Indiana, and he really emphasized
Evansville, Indiana.
that big pop. And I thought that overall to set up the match, very clever, simple angle. Again, we've talked about this for months and months and months. The key to Roman is the ego. Attack the ego. And that is where we're going. Very smart, very good. I love what we're doing here.
Jimmy says they're not taking orders from them and they're not bending the knee. Now Jey grabs the mic and he says,
Bloodline bends the knee to nobody.
and Roman now wants the mic, and Paul has to rip it out of Jey's hands and give it to Roman, and this was an incredible moment.
A microphone in his hand. And it goes with the microphone in his hand.
Yeah, he's screaming at Jey about Roman. He has his hand down. It was so good. This was magic, man. I love this.
So Roman says the Bloodline accepts, and we have our match set for tonight. We fast forward a little bit. They're backstage in the locker room, and Roman is now frustrated that while he was on vacation, SmackDown sucks, and the Usos start laughing, and that is not what Roman wanted to hear.
No, I love that Roman says,
You think I'm here to pop you?
and immediately I'm thinking, no, that'll be Sami Zayn soon enough, brother. You just wait.
Yeah, just wait. So Jimmy says no disrespect, and Roman gets up in his face. He asks Jey what we don't do around here, and Jey says,
Don't lose, Zeus.
Roman asks why we don't lose, and Jey says that
Because we the ones.
this was a good one here on Jey because he sees what's getting ready to happen between Jimmy and Roman. He immediately gets Jimmy out of there. Roman was left standing there fuming.
This is the other side of the brother thing.
Yeah,
They told on each other, but they protect each other.
right.
You gotta love it, man.
So Kayla is interviewing Woods about the match, and he absolutely popped me huge here whenever he said if Roman walked to the ring any slower, he'd be going in reverse. And I hate to say this, but they're only going to get longer than what they already are.
You ain't lying, man.
Woods says the match will be fair and just, and the outcome is not in doubt, and he prays that Jimmy Uso is somewhere limbering up because he would hate to see him pull a muscle when he bends the knee.
Woods is becoming an awesome promo guy. Like he really gets into this, especially with this King shtick. He's so hammy that it's great. It's excellent. So right after that, I got two show notes here. The Viking Raiders come out during the Happy Madcap show thing. They have the most ridiculous masks on that you have ever seen. Sami Zayn then afterwards is backstage talking to Hit Row without BFAB. And he's saying that he's the locker room leader. He's excited to have him on SmackDown, but their entrance was flat. And he's going to show him how it's done. So he does the greatest entrance dance you have ever seen. And like he then grabs a microphone and he puts himself over as having presence and charisma and the it factor. And the guys he's going to bring out just need a little leadership. And so he brings out Hit Row. They come out and immediately bury Sammy. And he's just the greatest, man, because he literally is, for the sake of himself, is getting other people over here, but he's so good at sacrificing himself that he's bit by bit getting more over with the people, which is awesome. So after that, Jimmy's backstage with Roman. He asks Roman if he's coming. Roman then says,
How many of your problems do I need to fix around here?
oh, I like that. Woods comes out first. Pat's going off. He says, when Jimmy gets his win over King Woods. And here's another problem I have. Pat is a babyface announcer, but he's a bloodline mark. So are the fans. Like the fans love baby faces in the bloodline, but I don't know if I like that out of my announcer. Like I want you to either be a baby face or a heel. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like it takes away from the dynamic here.
He toes the line of like, he's got to be where the cool kids are.
You're absolutely right. That's exactly what's happening. And I don't like it because he's not a heel. That's my problem. I would be cool. Yes, I'd be cool with it if he was Jesse the Body Ventura, dude.
Yes.
Or, or somebody like that. Yeah, roll with the winners.
Yes. So I just have to say that perhaps Roman Reigns wasn't on vacation. Perhaps Roman Reigns was in Area 51.
So that takes us to our main event, Jimmy versus King Woods. Jimmy swings with the right to start the match, and Woods rolls him up for a quick count. Jimmy screaming, "You better tighten up" on the outside popped me huge.
Yeah.
Half of the tag team champions.
Jimmy backs Woods into the corner and he lands some heavy rights, and we have some cat and mouse games with an Irish whip, but Woods counters into a side Russian leg sweep with a basement drop kick for another quick count. Jimmy rolls out and Jey is still barking at him. Woods reaches over the ropes to grab him, but Jimmy lands a right on the apron and then drags Woods' face over the ropes. Jimmy goes to the top, but Woods lands a drop kick on him in mid-air for a 2 count, and Woods now lands chops, but Jimmy counters with a headbutt and stun guns Woods on the turnbuckle. Jimmy throws Woods to the outside as we go to commercial break, but we come back with both men. They are trading blows in the middle of the ring. Woods gets pushed into the ropes, but he hits a crossbody on Jimmy for another 2 count. Jimmy hits a spinning enziguri when they stand up. Jimmy then hits a hip attack and a running knee. He then sinks in a headlock, but Woods is able to roll out and hit a super kick to the gut of Jimmy. Jimmy goes for a back body drop, but Woods flips over onto his feet. He hits the ropes, baseball slides, and he lands that huge right and a super kick. Woods then throws Jimmy over the top rope. He lands a solid knee, and Jimmy then rolls back to the outside. Woods is on fire here as he's running, and he nails a diving kick through the ropes. He rolls Jimmy back in, and he heads to the top. Woods lands a leg drop from the top on Jimmy, and he somehow kicks out. This was an awesome spot.
Yeah, dude, I always love me the Matt Hardy leg drop. I do. This was an awesome near fall. This one had me. When he went up, I was thinking he was going to move. Jimmy was going to move. Jimmy didn't move. He hit it. I thought, oh my, great near fall here.
Woods again goes to the top rope, but Jey tries to interfere. Jimmy now gets up and he knocks his legs out, and Jimmy has Woods up and he nails a Samoan drop from the top rope. Woods somehow kicks out, and they are having an awesome match here. Jimmy is now going to the top rope for the Uso splash, but Woods gets his feet up and it hits Jimmy right in the face. Woods rolls Jimmy over and he kicks out. Jimmy hits a super kick and Woods goes for a suplex, but Jimmy thumbs his eyes. He rolls him up, and now Jey is pushing on Jimmy to lock in the pin, and he's going to count for 3, but the ref catches him before the final count. Jimmy is arguing with the ref, and Woods rolls him up for the win. So Jimmy has to bend the knee.
Yeah, I thought Jey getting caught with his entire body in the ring, I thought that was awesome, man. I laughed out loud at that. Like, it was his, and that's what made it so good, is that it wasn't subtle. It was his entire body in the ring pushing him. Xavier gets the win in almost the same way that he won the week prior. And so I thought that was the perfect result here. Great little mini storyline, great result. This was awesome.
Yeah, so Woods is now in the ring and the crowd is chanting.
It's in the New Day Rocks count. Bend the knee. Yes. Bend the knee. And so, like, that was awesome job, crowd. This was really good.
So Jimmy is going to bend the knee, and he is so close, and Roman runs in and lands a Superman punch to Woods. The Usos are now attacking Kofi. Woods now fires up on Roman in the corner, and Roman pushes him away into the Usos for a double super kick. Roman hits a spear on Kofi. Jimmy picks up Kofi, and Jey stomps his knee. Roman is holding Woods up, making him watch what happens to Kofi as they are attacking his knee, and Heyman hands Roman the belt. He holds it high in the sky as the New Day has been completely taken out here.
Yeah, they killed the New Day to death, and I had no problem with it. I thought it was a great end of the show. I thought the whole angle was awesome. But before we move on to the next week, some news notes from the November 15th, 2021 Observer. There are 9,050 tickets out for the Barclays Center with only 7,000 people paid for Survivor Series. A usual sellout of a building for that pay-per-view would be 15,500 and have about 13,600 paid. So they're at about half of capacity here. And we're only 2 or 3 weeks away, which is crazy to think about nowadays. Right. Raw the next night after Survivor Series is doing poorly with only 3,715 tickets out and likely closer to 2 to 2,500 people paid. That's less than Giant Center, brother. So our main events are sealed. The champion versus champion matches. Dave does attest the low advance to the lack of promotion. And because we are in mid-November 2021, we are officially on Cody watch. So on the 11:10 Dynamite, Cody was part of an angle where he did a run-in for a save for Pac. Pac is getting beat down by Andrade and Malachi Black. The Lucha Brothers run in, and Cody ran in, but he did his run in through the crowd and much later than Pentagon and Phoenix. So there is some unease with the reactions Cody's getting, and they're trying to be creative with how they use him. Stay tuned, people. Finally, Dave Meltzer reported that The Rock has pretty much said no to WrestleMania this year, although that's been known. His target show is LA for SoFi, And this year, it appears to be Lesnar versus Reigns as the main event. Dave also reports that Lesnar will be returning for the 12/10 Smackdown in Los Angeles, with the idea he's going to be buying a ringside ticket. Spoiler alert, but we'll get there. So let's get into this Smackdown coming up.
Yes, this is the November 12th, 2021 Smackdown. We are live from Norfolk, Virginia, and it is announced that we are getting King Woods versus the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns tonight.
Yeah, and for some reason, Pat tells us this is episode 1160. Great.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, why not? But because of the sprain of the MCL to Kofi, Xavier goes at it alone tonight. We also get our first plug for WrestleMania 38, and I completely forgot, but it is the most stupendous WrestleMania in history. And we are only going to hear that about 200,000 times. Is stupendous a Vince word or what?
It is. It's totally a Vince word. They've already said that it's a Vince word. It's never been used before in a WrestleMania or anything like that, which is why Vince wanted it.
Yep. Absolutely. And Sammy is now cutting a promo in the mirror. He's getting spied on by Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy tells his promo sucks. And now Roman and Paul are coming out next.
I freaking love that.
It's so good, dude. Sammy's the best.
So we get the progressive match flow with a recap of what happened with last week. And Kayla is interviewing Roman as he heads into his locker room. Roman says that she could only be here for 2 reasons: to acknowledge her tribal chief or flirt with the wise man's. We get a nice Rock tease here as he says,
was to ask.
Don't nobody care what you want.
and Roman wants the wise man to smarten her up as he heads into the locker room.
Dude, after Roman tells Paul to smarten her up, Paul says,
Smartening up Kayla Stan Braxton may be the toughest assignment the tribal chief has ever given his special counsel.
The tribal chief has authorized the wise man to ante up against King Woods. Tonight, Roman Reigns will take a bended knee, and if Roman loses, he has to bend the knee to Woods. If he fails to bend the knee, he will be stripped of the title and he will be banished from SmackDown.
yeah, he also says, because they're in the Commonwealth of Virginia, his statement is a legal and binding contract. And doesn't that make tonight a bit more interesting? So good on you, Paul, for knowing legal here in the Commonwealth. But then Boog starts playing guitar, and I can't fast forward fast enough because it's there for Pat to dance.
Yep.
I can't handle it.
So later in the show, Kayla is with King Woods, and she says that he has to fight Roman without Kofi tonight. And Woods says that the New Day has had a bad week and it stops tonight. He says, if you want a royal proclamation, Roman Reigns will bend the knee because
I, King Woods, first of his name, bringer of new days, clotter of bloodlines, I'm about to storm the island of relevancy and plant my flag in the name of King Woods.
Wow, you said it about the episode last week, but this one, holy cow, was so good.
Yeah, he went full Khaleesi here, and his delivery was great. I love the titles. Excellent promo. We then get a Raw recap, and this is like 2 or 3 weeks in a row that we're doing this on SmackDown, and it makes sense because we do have Survivor Series coming up with the cross-brand deal. So it's main event time. Roman's coming out first, flanked only by Paul, who gives Roman the belt. Roman holds it high above his head. The pyro blows. We're ready to rock. And Pat is talking about crazy things that can happen in sports. And he says, the Ravens lost to the Dolphins. Fins up, son. I loved it, man. This was a great shout out to Fins Nation. And dude, there is a long live the king sign with the drawing of something that looks like Shawn Michaels' signature, if you pick up what I'm putting down as this match gets started, and I loved it.
We head to our main event, and I'm so excited for this match. We get a collar and elbow tie-up, and Roman powers out with big rights. He lands more of them in the corner and goes for 10-count punches. Woods slips out after the third one and plants Roman's face on the turnbuckle, and then he lands his own 10-count punches. Then moves Woods off as he gets to the 10 punch. And he hits the ropes. He goes for the clothesline, but Woods ducks, and he hits a drop kick that sends Roman to the outside. Woods is staying on the offensive here, and he's trying to jump Roman as he gets in, but Roman hops down. Woods then hits the ropes, and he nails Roman with the diving drop kick through the ropes. He bounces Roman's head off the announce desk and he lands some chops. He then throws Roman into the ring. Roman misses another right and Woods baseball slides, goes for the heavy right, but Roman hits the uppercut first as Woods is now on the outside. Roman follows and slams Woods onto the announce table as we go to commercial. We come back and Roman has Woods back in the ring and Woods is trying to fight back with Roman hitting a big kick, but Roman falls into the rope and then he lands a big boot for 2. Roman is now landing big rights in the corner. Roman hits the ropes, but Woods hits a forearm and it just stood Roman straight up. He hits the ropes again, but Roman nails him with an uppercut. Now Woods is crawling to the apron. Woods lands a kick from the apron. He hits a swinging DDT from the bottom rope, and now both men are down.
Yeah, this was a well-placed double down, and we're really cooking at this point in time. This is a nice little match.
Yes, Woods blocks a right from Roman, and he's firing up, but Roman cuts him off with a knee to the gut. Woods flips out of a back suplex. He hits the ropes, baseball slides, and now connects with that big right. Roman bounces off the ropes, and Woods lands a big heel kick for a 2 count. Woods lands a kick to a downed Roman, and then he lands a modified running DDT, and Roman kicks out again for a near fall. Woods is now going to the top. Roman hops up and hits an uppercut to Rhodes, but he is fighting out, and now he's on the top rope. He flies, but Roman catches him for a devastating Uranage for another fall. And is setting up for a spear, but Woods hits a kick. Roman runs again, and he posts himself, and King Woods is now on the top rope. He hits a coast-to-coast flying elbow for the win, but the Usos pull Woods out as they are counting for 3, breaking the count, and now the match is over.
Yeah, I absolutely hated this. Like, I loved the spot. It's that coast-to-coast elbow was great coming off of posted Roman. The setup was great. All of this was awesome. I just hated the finish.
Yeah, I loved how they were building to it. I just hate that they pulled him out and that was it.
Yep.
So they are beating Woods down on the outside with the steps, and Roman is now in the middle of the ring and he's bending the knee. The Usos have Woods' crown and they crown the tribal chief as king.
Yeah, so I thought this was clever. I initially hated it. When I saw it happen, I was like, this dude lost. Why does he have a crown? Why are we celebrating? And then I realized, oh, wait, he did lose.
Yeah.
He did bend the knee.
Yeah.
But when he bent the knee, it was as a coronation, not as claiming, fealty to King Woods. Right. So really well done. One thing I have to note, that there was a late change made to the booking and layout of this show, which actually had Big E mentioned by Xavier Woods with the New Day struggling and everything. So now we are actually starting to work towards that match. Finally.
Yes. Cannot wait for that. We have Survivor Series coming up, as that was part 48 of the Bloodline Rewind. If you've made it this far, be sure to like the video, leave a comment on what you thought about how this match ended with King Woods, and now that we have a new king on Smackdown. And next week we're going to be coming back with the final Smackdown before Survivor Series. So, I know that Teddy's got a lot of dirt he's got dug up for us that we're going to dig through, so I cannot wait for that. So with that, I'm Johnny Bake Show.
I'm Teddy Mongoose.
And we just called it in the ring.